Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. Dr. Jaws here, and tonight we are going to be exploring the Longfin Mako, Isurus paucus. This is a little known cousin of the famous short-fin Mako shark. Usually people just think of Mako sharks as just this one species, but they're referring mostly to the short-fin Mako. But there's a second one, the Longfin Mako, which resides over deeper water. It's encountered less often, and therefore is less well known. So it's really exciting to meet this species and learn more about it. Hey Quackers, welcome back. Welcome back. Hope you had a good weekend and did some fun Halloween activities. Since I think Friday was Halloween, so yeah. So hope you had a great weekend. I watched a really freaky movie. What was it? I tried watching Midsummer on Thursday, and I got a few minutes in. I was like, I can't do it. It's too freaky. And then I forget if it was Friday or Saturday, but I would just dare myself to do it again, and I finally got through it. It was really awful. Don't recommend, but legitimately scary. But other than that, my wife and I had a nice fall day yesterday, just exploring wineries and breweries over like the fall leaves in the region. So it was really nice. It was a good weekend overall. Had some scares and had some nice happy moments. So and it's November. It's hard to believe it's November. So Quackers. Wait. I love these comments. So these guys always remind me of can openers. I don't know why. So I didn't make tres leches, but I managed to make Swiss roll. Very ugly cross section, but super yummy. That's awesome. I don't think I've ever done Swiss roll before, and I've been meaning to try it because it's like it's that sheet. I guess you make a sheet of cake, and then like you do a layer of frosting, and then you wrap it up. So I made a goofy dessert that I call mafukis. And I'll just type that out. Which are just like muffin tin cookies, but they're really good. If you put chocolate chip cookies in like a muffin tin, you just and you bake it for like 18 minutes, you get this like really thick, awesome cookie. So muffin cookies equals mafukis. So and I enjoy calling them mafukis, but so. But anyway, there's a lot of material to go through tonight with this species, and I'm actually really happy to see that there's some Longfin Mako footage. So we'll go ahead and dive into that first. And this is a really nice return to form, focusing on modern sharks. So I love that we did a couple fossil specials with the Jurassic sharks and shark behavior. But it's nice to kind of come back to a species, and especially like a really prominent one, so like a really important one. So I think without further ado, we'll take a look at this first clip. I usually don't like shorts because of the framing, but this is actually a really impressive clip of just how big these sharks can get. Oops,
hey,
sorry for the sound.
It's too dangerous. Don't be doing that.
So this is there we go. Here we go. This is a Longfin Mako, unfortunately washed up ashore, but it is a good little reference of like how large these sharks can be. So unfortunately, the fishermen are trying to haul it back out to sea, so trying to orient it in the right direction. But you can see the characteristic long fins. You can see the beautiful like indigo color on the back. So it's a gorgeous shark, and you can even see the equal lobes of the caudal fin. That's a really unique feature of these sharks that helps give them their like high burst of speed. They're really an incredible animal. And I know this is kind of like replaying, but this is just gives you a sense of the scale of a Longfin Mako. So this is a distant cousin, or I guess not too distant. This is a cousin of a white shark. It is part of the family Lamnidae, so there's a couple features that are similar. So you have like the large mouth, the very large gills actually that help maximize oxygen intake, the falcate pectoral fins, and the dorsal fin I guess is like semi-falcate. It's very large actually, but the caudal fin, like the tail fin, being with the upper lobe and the lower lobe being equal size, that's an amazing feature that gives these sharks just this dynamite speed. They're kind of like living torpedoes. They're extremely fast. I think it is Dr. Abel, is it Dan Abel, in one of his recent book, Shark Biology and Conservation. They Someone asked what the perfect shark would be, and he rightfully and correctly said, every shark that is alive today is perfect because it is the most readily adapted for its habitat and environment. However, if he had to play along and kind of like pick a species, he said it would be a Mako, so either the short fin or the long fin Mako. And the reason being is that they're the most energy efficient sharks. Given that their speed, how quickly they can locate prey, their voraciousness, and like the efficiency in which they can like hunt down prey, intake that energy, intake that material, and convert it into the amount of energy that these sharks demonstrate. They're the most efficient hunter, and everything about them, like how streamlined they are, how much they reduce drag in the water. They're really incredible animals. So we'll stop watching that clip and move on to a longfin Mako in nature. So here's a nice little clip of a longfin Mako swimming up to a camera. And again, it looks extremely similar to the short fin. It's just like the name gives it all away. I mean, these sharks have characteristically long fins. And you can't. It's unmistakable compared to a short fin Mako. Short fin Makos have kind of proportionally. The proportions of their fins are kind of similar to a white shark, but long fin Makos have unusually long fins, similar to like a blue shark or an oceanic white tip, and that suggests that these two are truly oceanic species. So. The indigo color too. So on the back, so you can't really quite see it in this individual, but. In other individual that was washed up, indigo color kind of similar to a blue shark, and a suggestion that this is an animal that spends most of its time in the open ocean, where indigo is the best counter shading you can get because it's not really in like murky water, it's in crystal clear blue water. Usually if you're in the open sea, it's just you have an amazing visibility since you're so far away from any kind of sediment. So really cool looking animal. We have a few more clips to take a look at, but excuse me, do you mind putting me back? Yeah, I just saw your collar quackers. Yeah, and it's tricky because they technically handled in that clip. They technically handled the shark in the wrong way, and I'll go back to it just to kind of show that. But they ultimately. Did the shark a service as far as they position it in the right way. So what they're doing, like any of that, if they're dragging a shark by the caudal fin, that's there's a risk of causing damage to the shark. But there's no other thing that they can do in this scenario, and especially you have to watch out for your own safety with the mouth. So this technically is not good for the animal, like dragging it by the caudal fin. But at the end of the day, they were able to reorient the shark back towards the ocean. And the way the shark moves, you can tell that it's actually doing relatively okay. So as they let the shark go, and as the waves are kind of running into its gills, it is fully capable of propelling itself. And building up a little bit of speed. So it actually looks like a fairly healthy release. So overall, but I just wanted to show that grabbing it by the caudal fin is not the best practice. I don't know what else you could do in that scenario, but that's not really the best way to do that. So I'm gonna fast forward just to focus on the Mako shark because this is like a fishing clip called Longfin Mako attacks a swordfish off Isla Morada. Get out of here. I don't want this product. Get out of here. Skip. So that's actually a nice scale of how big these sharks can get. So not quite the size of a great white, but Mako sharks are still fairly large. They're pretty formidable predators. Oh, here we go. Unfortunately, it's a shame they accidentally hooked one. These sharks are critically endangered, or not critically endangered, endangered. So the short fin mako and the long fin mako are both endangered species. So these are completely prohibited. At least in the United States, you cannot fish for these sharks. Actually, you know what? I that actually might not be true now that I think about it, because makos are an endangered species, but now that I think about it, and that's a swordfish that was cut up. Now that I think about it, I think the United States is one of the few countries where, weirdly enough, the makos actually don't have protection. So when we read the summary of the longfin mako, we'll have to take a look at what the protection status is in different countries. Because most countries follow ICAT rules, where the shark, you can't fish for it. And then we'll kind of skip this clip because this is just fishing. But most countries follow ICAT rules where you can't fish for longfin makos. But I believe the United States actually you can, now that I think about it. So we'll go ahead and check that status again. I'm going to catch up on any comments. Oh, yeah. So I think this is the same clip. This is like a different upload, but another nice chance to take a look at how the shark is moving. This one seems to be a smaller individual, and you can actually see a copepod parasite on the left pectoral fin. It's kind of cool to see the similarities and differences from white sharks, because they come from the same lineage, where mako sharks have larger eyes, slimmer bodies. White sharks are a lot heavier and they have comparatively smaller eyes. And again, at least for this mako shark, it looks like even the dorsal fin, like the first dorsal fin, is pretty large comparatively to the rest of its body. The gills are huge compared to the rest of its body, which is exactly what they need as in order to intake as much oxygen as possible to help support the fast bursts of speed that these sharks are known for. Mako sharks are the fastest sharks in the ocean. Some of the fastest fish, probably matching tuna in terms of their speed. Interestingly enough, and you can kind of see in this clip, the tail is very modified, where you have this very prominent caudal keel. And that helps kind of slice through the water. So it's that weird little area before the tail where it's kind of flat and it's bulging out a little bit. It's kind of like a disc that's meant to cut through the water, and is one of the many features that this shark has to maintain great bursts of speed as it's hunting down prey. So a lot of I think all the Lambdae, the white sharks and the porbeagles have a caudal keel, but in the mako sharks, it's very, very noticeable. So I think with that, we'll start to kind of learn some information on the species. So here we go. Longfin Mako, Isurus paucus. We're going to take a look at our good friend Florida Museum of Natural History. And here's a nice kind of overview of the shark, a nice little photograph. This seems to be a bit of a larger individual, but the most important feature that I think is interesting to draw attention to is the tail. So, hey Howard, welcome back. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Hope you got a chance to see the Jurassic shark episodes. The past 2 episodes were all on prehistoric shark species, so hope you got a chance to see that. Excuse me. But for the Longfin Mako, the caudal fin, I know I keep saying this, but it's such an important feature because it's unique amongst, not a lot of sharks have this feature. The upper lobe and the lower lobe of the caudal fin are the same size. So kind of like a cool rule of thumb as far as understanding where a shark lives. The upper caudal, like the proportion of the upper lobe versus the lower lobe, if the upper lobe of the caudal fin is longer than the lower lobe, it kind of indicates that the shark is more of like a cruiser, like it's like a probably more of like a bottom dwelling species, or a species that doesn't really need to swim very quickly. But if the upper lobe and the lower lobe, like the closer these are in size and the closer they are in shape, especially once you get into that crescent moon shape, the faster the shark is, and the more likely it's an open ocean pelagic hunter. So, and mako sharks have just almost like they're almost like perfectly sized. The upper lobe, lower lobe, they're almost perfectly equal, indicating that this is definitely an open ocean species. So, the fin, the pectoral fin also is very prominently long. So, and I wonder if that helps in stability, because again, this is so similar to blue sharks and oceanic whitetip sharks, and actually silky sharks. Now I think about it, and those are all pelagic sharks. Those are all sharks of the open ocean. So I'm excited to learn more in terms of the adaptations. So. Oh, awesome, Howard. I'm still playing catch up. I will check out those Jurassic episodes. Awesome. I think you'll like them a lot. We go into a handful of really cool fossil species. So. Named for its decidedly long and rounded pectoral fins, little is known about the life and habits of a slender relative of the shortfin mako and white shark. Common names are Longfin Mako, and it looks like that's the only English name. Makohai is the German name, which is kind of cool. Longfin Mako is Afrikaans. Bake-aozame is Japanese. Kind of like this Polish name, Ostronos Glugopletwi. Importance to humans, because of its poor quality meat, it isn't highly sought after by recreational or commercial fishers, but demands for shark meat and shark fins does bring many to market. Danger to humans, although the International Shark Attack File, according to the International Shark Attack File, there have been no confirmed attacks on humans. However, there have been 8 incidents by unidentified Isurus species, so these are mako sharks. Those are likely Isurus oxyrhynchus, which is the shortfin mako. Conservation. The conservation of the status of the species is uncertain. Problems for the longfin mako include the rarity of the shark in most places, except perhaps the western Atlantic Ocean. Limited knowledge of its biology, large maximum size, apparently lower fecundity than the shortfin mako, and occurrence as a limited but complementary bycatch of high-intensity oceanic fisheries targeted shortfin makos, other sharks, and pelagic scombroid fishes. So these are like mackerels. This is a good point too. Most people know about the shortfin mako. The longfin mako, most people don't know what that is. Where it's not necessarily rare, but it's definitely very, very uncommon. It's a species that we don't run into that much, and we don't really see that much. Kind of like the beaked whales. Not a lot of people know what beaked whales are, and that's like an extremely rare, weird set of whales that just kind of roam the open ocean, and we don't really know where they go or what they are. It's surprising how little their biology we know. So. These problems should arouse the concern of conservation and fisheries organizations. Because of increased mortality of an uncommon or rare species due to finning and possibly capture trauma, it's thought to have a very low minimum population with a doubling time of more than 14 years. This IUCN status is out of date, so we will go ahead and check that out in a little bit. Actually, we'll check that out right now. Let's see if we can make this a little bit more legible. Okay, this kind of works. So IUCN longfin mako status is endangered. So this is unfortunately an endangered species. And it's a global species. So it's found in temperate and tropical waters worldwide. But the distribution is a little patchy, where it's kind of, given how large this range is, but how little we run into it, it's kind of amazing. We really don't know much about it. So. Assessment information in detail. The longfin mako is a large, large shark, widely distributed but infrequently encountered pelagic oceanic shark. It usually occurs to depths of 760 meters, but has been reported to 1,752 meters. So this is a shark that can go into the midnight zone, really deep, really deep. Actually, that's for a shark that spends time in the open ocean. That's actually extremely deep. Wow. The species is caught globally as target and bycatch in pelagic commercial and small-scale longline, purseine, and gillnet fisheries that operate throughout its range. It is caught less frequently than the short-fin mako and is usually retained for the meat and fins. Most catches of Longfin Mako are inadequately recorded and likely underestimated in landings data, particularly as it is commonly misidentified as the short-fin Mako. The Longfin Mako is a serious conservation concern due to its apparent rarity, large maximum size, low fecundity, and continued, poorly documented take in intensive fisheries. The limited available population trend data indicates strong declines and is suspected to have undergone a population reduction of 50 to 79% globally over the last 3 generations, similar to its congener, the short-fin Mako. The Longfin Mako is therefore assessed as endangered. As this assessment includes only one time series and is based on suspected declines, the assessment should be revisited when catch data are available for more regions. What I'm really curious about is conservation actions. Because, again, I don't think the United States has protections for the species, so here we go. The success of actions agreed through the International Wildlife and Fisheries Treaties depends on implementation at domestic level. For sharks, such follow-up actions have to date been seriously lacking. In 2008, the Longfin Mako was listed on Appendix 2 of the Conservation of Migratory Species, which reflects parties' commitments to work regionally towards conservation. The species is also covered by the CMS Memorandum of Understanding for Migratory Sharks, which is aimed at facilitating conservation. In 2018, Mexico announced its intention to propose adding the Longfin Mako to Appendix 2 of the Convention of International Trade in Endangered Species, CITES, as a lookalike species with respect to the focus on the listing proposal, the shortfin Mako. If the proposal is adopted at the 2019 CITES conference, Longfin Mako exports from CITES parties would need to be accompanied by permits based on findings that parts are sourced from legal and sustainable fisheries. The Longfin Mako is rarer than the shortfin Mako, but the two species are often caught alongside each other and confused or combined in landing reports. The United States adopted a precautionary ban on retention of Atlantic Longfin Mako in 1999. There are no other known species-specific Longfin Mako catch limits. Interesting. To allow recovery, it is recommended that Longfin Mako landings be prohibited as long as the global population is classified as endangered. Short of that, improved reporting of catch and discard data, regional and national limits of Longfin Mako catch based on scientific advice, and or the precautionary approach and promotion of safe release protocols are urgently needed, as is full implementation of additional commitments agreed through international treaties. So now I'm very curious. United States prohibited sharks. Prohibited sharks. I'm gonna bring this up really quickly because if I recall, the United States is one of the few countries that doesn't give this species protection, and that's been controversial. So let's see. So this is a quick little guide. Here you go. So shark identification and federal regulations, the recreational fishery of the U.S. Atlantic Gulf. No, Noah, what are you doing? Gulf of Mexico. Oh dear. So this is recent. This is March 2025. Oh my gosh. I had never thought I would see that. That's it's a boycott. But anyway, we have authorized species: a smoothhound shark, Atlantic sharpnose shark, bonnethead shark. Wait a minute, what is this? Oh. Yeah, thank you, quackers. Yeah, that's really sad. Noah, what did they do to my boy? So, or no, what is the quote from Godfather? Look how they messed up my boy. I forget what it is. Already we're seeing some interesting controversy here. So the smoothhound, this is the dusky smoothhound. That's fine. The Atlantic sharpnose shark is fine. These are both very small species that do really well. The bonnethead shark is not so fine. This is an endangered species, and the hammerheads, the great scalloped and smooth hammerhead, great and scalloped hammerheads are critically endangered, and it's really strange that these are authorized species. That's really odd. So hammerheads are controversial in the American shark community. I have met some scientists who said that there's a lot of politics going on as far as hammerhead conservation status, where they're seen as like endangered globally, but in the United States they're doing okay. But I mean, I err on the side of caution because they are doing so poorly globally. They're very sensitive sharks, where they don't really last long on the fishing hook, and they are a direct target of finning in other parts of the world. So I err on the side that hammerheads are critically endangered. So it's interesting to see that these are considered authorized species in the United States. It's really a shame, and that's been there for a while, unfortunately. Smooth hammerhead is the safest of the four, the bonnethead, great hammerhead, scalped hammerhead, but still, you know, you want to err on the side of caution. It's a vulnerable species. It's interesting there's a bag limit, so one per person for Atlantic sharpnose, one per person for bonnethead, one hammerhead or other shark per vessel. It's interesting. Prohibited species. Here we go. So we've got. They say ridgeback sharks. This is an identification technique. So sandbar sharks have ridges on their backs, as an example. The bull sharks do not have ridges. So here we go. All ridgeback sharks are prohibited except the tiger and the smoothhound. So tiger sharks are. Authorized, which that kind of makes sense. They actually are doing relatively okay. Smoothhounds are authorized. That makes sense. I love that the oceanic white-tip shark is prohibited. That prohibited species can't be retained. That's fantastic. This is a critically endangered species. This is a conservation measure that is right. That actually is helpful. Spiny dogfish, also known as pike dogfish. It's interesting this is prohibited because this is also kind of a vulnerable species and one that has a really it takes a long time to recover its population, so not sure why that's authorized. Prohibited ridgeback sharks include big nose, Caribbean reef, dusky, Galapagos, night, oceanic white-tip, sandbar, and silky. Most of this makes a lot of sense, and I appreciate that these are prohibited. Catching up in the comments. Quackers, I've spent the entirety of my childhood education memorizing the Gulf of Mexico. I'm not letting that go to waste. Exactly. Agreed. And honestly, I think we're gonna. I predict in 10 years' time, and it's not going to take 10 years, but I predict in 10 years' time, we're going to go back to Gulf of Mexico. Like, it never happened. It never happened. It's just so many decades of research and so many decades of literature just listing Gulf of Mexico sharks. It's just like, it's going to be Gulf of Mexico. Big nose. I don't think we've done a big nose shark episode. That would be a good one, perhaps, for next week. So we'll keep I'm gonna keep a tab on the big nose shark. It's Carcharinus. I should know this. This is Carcharinus. I want to say it's amboyensis, but I might be getting that confused with something else. So I have to double check that. So, okay, this is interesting. Scalped hammerheads, great hammerheads, and smooth hammerheads cannot be retained in the U.S. Caribbean or if tuna, swordfish, or billfish are on board. That's an interesting rule, and I'm kind of curious if this is a clever way to kind of help keep hammerheads off. I don't know. That's interesting that there's that parameter where you can catch a hammerhead without a swordfish, but you can't have a swordfish if you have a hammerhead on board. So that's really interesting. Huh. Let's see. Atlantic sharpnose and bonnethead sharks. Here we go. I like this rule. If you don't know, let it go. Let's see. Sharpnose 7-gill sharks or 6-gill sharks are prohibited. Atlantic angel shark, also known as the sand devil, is prohibited, which that's great. And I'm pleasantly surprised that that's prohibited because that is a species of least concern. But angel sharks around the world don't do really well. So I really appreciate the precautionary approach that the United States is taking, where it's saying, hey, we know the shark doesn't do well abroad, so let's just not mess with it. Whale sharks obviously makes sense that they're prohibited. Nurse sharks and lemon sharks kind of makes sense they're accepted. Sand tiger shark is prohibited. That's great. All three species of sand tigers are prohibited. So big eye sand tiger, small tooth sand tiger. That's great that they're prohibited because they're critically endangered. Big eye thresher is prohibited. The thresher shark is allowed. This is interesting. Okay, and I got this wrong. The short fin mako and the long fin mako and the white shark are all prohibited. So this must have been a recent development. Because I recall these species. Oh, basket shark is prohibited. Makes sense. Totally makes sense. So it's great to see that most of the lamniforms are actually prohibited. You cannot fish for these species. Porbeagle is allowed. Blue shark's allowed. Bull shark's allowed. Black tip, fine tooth, black nose, and spinner shark. It makes sense that these sharks are allowed. So this is really interesting. I feel like we made some progress with Makos because I'm pretty sure this was under debate not too long ago. I'm pretty sure not too long ago, Mako sharks, people were allowed to fish for them. Quackers, some losses but some wins. Yes, agreed. And I think the next battleground probably is going to be these hammerheads, where I feel like these are going to be prohibited species. I remember literally like a decade ago, I called the Virginia Marine Resource Commission. I was kind of challenging them on why are hammerhead sharks authorized species? Like, why are they not prohibited because they're critically endangered? And they hung up. But it was a good moment of like, just kind of like knocking on the door and be like, hey, this isn't okay. Similarly, I actually did report somebody was posting something about hooking a white shark, and I was in Virginia Beach. I was like, no, absolutely not. So I was actually kind of reporting that and documenting that, because this is definitely 100% a prohibited species, and just kind of saying like, hey, just please educate these people that you really cannot have this shark on board. And they were very receptive to that and very helpful in that, and they reached out to them, which is great. So it's nice. It's nice to kind of like those moments of just like advocacy for the sharks. It's nice to know that like Quacker said, there's some wins, some losses. Overall, this is really great that we have some kind of guideline in place. And fishing permits are pretty strict, where there's a tension between fishermen and law enforcement where the law will be enforced. I mean, it absolutely will. Like things like your state Marine Resources Commission or Department of Game and Inland Fisheries, like there are rangers in those programs that will absolutely charge you if you fish for prohibited species, and it's ultimately for the total ecosystem's good, and looking at the ecosystem as a natural resource, like keeping that in balance and keeping it sustainable. It ultimately is for that reason. I think the most significant thing I've seen was people in the lower Chesapeake Bay were poaching for oysters, and they got caught and they got slapped with like a $14,000 fine. So like it's no joke. Like you don't mess with regulation guidelines, and it's ultimately for the benefit of the environment, but also for the benefit of the marine, like people who need to harvest that marine resource at the end of the day. So sorry, kind of rambling a little bit, but thank you, Quackers. I appreciate that. Thank you. So going back to Florida Museum of Natural History, let's see, habitat. There's little data available on the habitat and range of this species, but this epipelagic shark is most often seen in tropical and temperate waters. As in other lamnids, the Longfin Mako has countercurrent vascular heat exchange, so that's a really cool point. This is one of the rare groups of sharks that's able to raise their body temperature higher than the water around them. This allows the musculature, eyes, and brain and viscera to be heated. Often being seen at the surface, specimens' stomach contents include deep water squids that have suggested a broad range of habitable depths for the species. So what's kind of cool is imagine having that ability to heat your body temperature and go into deep water environments where you don't have to, like, your metabolism doesn't slow down as much as other species. It's super cool, and it makes this shark a particularly effective hunter. Quackers, I'm going to have to drop, unfortunately, but I intend on finishing the episode later. Oh, thank you. Good night. Hope you have a great rest of your week, and thank you so much for joining, Quackers. Let's see. Distinguishing characteristics for the Longfin Mako. Pectoral fins are as long or longer than the head. Pectoral fins have broad tips. Caudal fin is lunate with single keel. So lunate meaning the upper and lower lobe are similar in size, so kind of crescent shape or like lunar. So crescent moon, lunar, lunate. Eyes are large, and actually that's another hint that this is a species that probably spends a lot of time in deep water. And then the teeth protrude from the mouth, so classic kind of like snaggletooth look that are distinctive of Mako sharks and sand tiger sharks. So let's see. Like other members of the family Lambdae, Isurus paucus has elongated gill slits for more efficient gas exchange. The mouth is shorter than it is wide, and the lower teeth extruding. Let's see. Oh, interesting. The spiracles are minute and scarcely perceivable. I didn't even know that this shark had spiracles, so that's actually a pretty interesting comment. Let's see. There are strong keels in the caudal peduncle and short secondary keels in the caudal base. Similar species include the short-fin mako, the blue shark, the white shark, and the poor beagle. The longfin mako has proportionally larger fins and eyes than the short-fin mako. And this is a short-fin mako by comparison. The blue shark lacks a strong caudal keel and a lunate caudal fin that are present in Isurus paucus. The white shark has a snout that is less narrow, sporting serrated triangular teeth. The poor beagle's caudal fin is a small secondary. Caudal keels and teeth have lateral cusplets are not present in longfin mako. Coloration. The dorsolateral coloration is a dark slate blue or gray-black with a white ventral side. However, the underside of the snout and the jaw is darker in adults and large juveniles, spreading to the origin of the pectoral fins. This dark color on the flanks extends ventrally into the abdomen in adults. So that's actually kind of fascinating, where I wonder if that relates to the shark being able to go into deep water. And I wonder if younger Mako sharks have more of a striking counter shading, where they have the white bellies and the dark backs, but then as they get older, maybe they get darker because they're spending more and more time in the deep waters. So that's just a hypothesis, but that would be really cool if that's the reason why they darken as adults. So, and with that, we can kind of take a look at this individual, which looks a little bit bigger. You can see that the underside of the head is darker. The overall coloration is significantly darker, although this is a deceased individual, so some of that might be, like, I wouldn't say the pigmentation, but the coloration is probably due to like post-mortality color. But if we take a look at the little Mako shark that was here, like the Longfin Mako, because this guy looks a little bit smaller, and he does seem to have lighter colors overall. By comparison, if we looked at the large Longfin Mako that washed up in this short, let's see what the underside of him, his head looked like when the short replays. Yeah, so the underside actually has more like that bluish color is kind of wrapping around the cheeks a little bit. The lower jaw is still white, but the lower side of the face does seem a little bit darker. It's incredible how large these animals are, by the way. So not quite the size of a white shark, but still they're pretty enormous. Here is the dentition of a Longfin Mako. So really beautiful narrow teeth. So perfect for grasping squid or mackerels or any kind of slippery fish. So, and it's amazing, like the forward teeth, the most forward teeth are the longest and the most narrow. As you get further back in the jaw, these get to be a little bit wider for slicing. Same with the lower jaw. So you got a nice concentration of very long, narrow teeth at the top of the lower jaw, or the interior edge of the lower jaw. And then as you get further back into the mouth, like you get more slicing teeth. So suggesting that the shark lunges its jaws forward, grasps and hooks a squid or a fish with its forward teeth, and then as it's passing it into its mouth, it just like rips it apart to help with digestion. Yes, Howard, fang-like dentition, absolutely. So really cool. and immediately very different from white sharks, where both the short-finned Mako shark have this kind of dentition. White sharks infamously have the broad triangular teeth, which is more for marine mammal hunting. But this is definitely piscivorous or a piscivorous dentition or a dentition fit for squids. So, dermal denticles. Denticles are packed. Posterior margin is slightly W-shaped. Denticles are 3 to 7 crests and are lip-shaped with longer vertical than horizontal width. So the dermal denticles are interesting with this shark, where there's something about them that helps really cut through the water and accentuate the speed. So even at that minute detail of the dermal denticles, it's a way to help the shark be as efficient of a hunter as it can be. So, the maximum size is believed to be 14 feet. While age at maturity is not known, females have been reported to mature at about 300 centimeters or 10 feet, and males at 229 centimeters or 7.5 feet. The species' lifespan is, as of yet, still unknown. Food habits. There's not much data on the food habits of the Longfin Mako, but it presumably feeds on schooling, fishes, and pelagic cephalopods, so mackerel, squid. The Longfin Mako is ovoviviparous. The fetuses of Longfin Mako are larger than those of the shortfin Mako. Fetuses are believed to be cannibalistic in utero, consuming other eggs in the womb, ovophagy. So this is, and it's kind of amazing, and it makes sense. Like landiform sharks, a lot of them have intrauterine cannibalism. So this is a cousin of sand tiger shark, which is the most famous example of intrauterine cannibalism. But it's interesting to see that the Longfin Mako continues that feature of this lineage of sharks' evolution. So, female gives birth to 2 to 8 pups, measuring about 4 to 4.5 feet. Reproductive periods and gestation times are currently unknown. Predators. Larger sharks may feed upon juvenile Longfin Makos. Adult Longfin Makos likely fall prey only to humans. Interesting. The Longfin Mako taxonomy was originally described as Isurus paucus in 1966 by Guittard Mande. It has a synonym of Isurus alatus. The genus name Isurus is translated from the Greek isos, meaning equal, or ora, meaning tail. So, equal tail, which is a beautiful name. It's a great name for this group of sharks. So, Howard, yes, 100%. Those are very large pups. And relative to the body size, that's about a third of maximum size. Or if you had like a mature female is 10 feet, so that's about nearly half of the mature female size. So those are huge pups. That's a really good point. Probably has an impact on how many pups the shark can produce, which also has a conservation impact, unfortunately. Checking out Fishbase, I might have some really cool photographs of a Longfin Mako, so here we go. So great shots. You can see how large the eye is. That's actually a really, really nice shot of the lower jaw. Here's an individual recently landed, so you still have that kind of like beautiful indigo color. This is a pretty seriously deceased individual, so you can see some desiccation, but it's interesting that the mouth is darker in color. So this is suggestive of maybe this is a larger shark, maybe maybe an adult female. Interesting artistic interpretation. Very, very fat looking. Go back to some other photos. Excuse me. Okay, for fish base, let's see if there's anything new. So we learned Isurus means isos, isos is equal, aura is tail, so referring to the caudal fin lobes being equal in length. This little footnote is funny, except they're not. The upper is clearly longer. I don't know if that's true. I think they look pretty equal to me. I mean, I guess you can say that, but that's still like the width is almost completely equal. So I still think Isurus is a fitting name for this group of sharks. Paucus, Latin for scarce, referring to its relative rarity compared to Isurus oxyrhynchus. Interesting. So its Latin name literally means the rare equal tail. So pretty interesting. Depth range 0 to 752 meters, so we already learned that. Let's see. Biology. Oceanic species that probably approaches land to give birth. Epipelagic. Presumably feeds on schooling fishes and pelagic cephalopods. Ovoviviparous. Embryos feeding on yolk sac and other ova produced by the mother, with 2 pups in a litter. Potentially dangerous because of its large size and big teeth. Utilized fresh, frozen, and dried or salted for human consumption. The meat is lower quality. The fins are high value in adults. The jaws are highly prized. So no, we don't advocate shark poaching at all. This is an interesting quote, though. Oceanic species that probably approaches land to give birth. That's pretty interesting. Because you have to wonder, is it approaching? I'm imagining that these sharks may be approaching islands, like oceanic islands, or because I've never heard of Longfin Makos getting close to, at least in the Western Atlantic, to the shelf. I feel like we would have seen that as far as like juvenile Longfin Mako sharks, but let's see. Life cycle, mating behavior, exhibit ovoviviparity. I don't know if that's spelled right. Ovoviviparity, aplacental viviparity, with embryos feeding on other ova produced by the mother. So ophagy, after the yolk sac is absorbed. There's a 2 to 8 pups, distinct pairing of embrace. So not a lot of additional information from FishBase, so we'll go ahead and check out. This is a really cool website that has a nice illustration by Mark Dando. We're back at Shark Research Institute. For identifying species, what to look for. The shark's snout is not as pointed as that of the shortfin Mako shark. Its pectoral fins are as long as its head and relatively broad tip. So really, the pectoral fins, like the namesake, are what to look for. The color is dusky. Size at birth is 3.2 to 3.9 feet. Matures when it's just under 8 feet. Shark is in oceanic and tropical regions, probably worldwide, though poorly recorded. It is common in Western Atlantic and possibly the Central Pacific, but rare elsewhere. Biology, in general, is a warm-bodied shark. Feeds on fishes and squid. Behavior is poorly known. Maybe a slower swimmer than the shortfin Mako. Interesting. Status, presumed vulnerable to fisheries and likely depleted. Let's see. Rare, low reproductive rate, and continuing bycatch mortality. So. We'll check out sharkreferences.com to see if there's more information. This is a beautiful illustration. I think this is also by Mark Dando here. So this is about key features to help identify the shark. So gorgeous animal. And you can see that, contrary to FishBase, I do think the upper and lower caudal lobes are pretty similar in size. I guess I could see what they're saying, that the upper lobe is larger, but I think it's not drastically larger. So. But some key features for identifying the species: the snout is long, narrow to bluntly pointed. The ventral surface of the snout and mouth is dusky. The teeth are smooth edged without lateral cusps. Anterior teeth straight, not recurved. the first dorsal fin, I love this, the red line and the yellow line, is to kind of help visualize fin placement. This is such an important feature for identifying sharks, especially sharks that are very close in appearance. The first dorsal fin origin distinctly posterior to the pectoral fins free rear tip. So the first dorsal fin is a bit further back from this point in the pectoral fins. Pectoral fin length about equal to or greater than the head length. So this is actually a nice little visual of that right here. So pointing that the length of this pectoral fin is equal to the length between the pectoral fin and the head, or the tip of the snout. In fact, the pectoral fin might be larger than that distance. So, second dorsal fin and anal fin minute, so very, very small. Anal fin origin is slightly behind insertion of the second dorsal fin, and then the secondary caudal keels are absent. You can kind of see the caudal keel here. You can actually see the precaudal pit right there. But this thin line makes this nice blade, or not blade, but like kind of like this disc that helps cut through the water as the shark is swimming. So, and actually, yeah, there you go. You can actually visualize it right there. So that shape, it may look a little strange, but it's a beautiful evolutionary design or evolutionary feature, helping the shark maximize its speed, because it's like the shark is like powering through the water, cutting through, reducing drag with the caudal keels, and it just helps it rocket into a prey item. Different names for the species. It's interesting that there's only one English name, which is Longfin Mako, or long-finned Mako, but not really anything else. I kind of like the Spanish name, the Mako elaton. And Mako High is kind of like a fun German name too. New image of the shark. This one definitely is a juvenile. You can very clearly see how large the gill slits are relative to the body size. Eyes are very large as well, but this is a little guy, a little individual. So as the shark grows, it starts to kind of like it grows into the proportion of the eyes to the rest of the body. The rest of the body gets a little bit more average, still prominent. Something like the gills in the eyes are still unusually large as far as sharks go. Which the eyes indicate deep water preference. Gills indicate probably a really active swimmer. Alright, so I think there's a couple cool research articles that I'm excited to take a look at, because some of them are relevant to where I live. So we'll take a look here. Okay, I'm going to take a quick drink of water as well. Excuse me. Horizontal and vertical movements of Longfin Makos, Isurus paucus, tracked with satellite-linked tags in the northwestern Atlantic. This is by Robert E. Huiter, John P. Tyminski, John J. Morris, Alexi Ruiz Abierno, and Jorge Anguilo Valdez. So we'll read the abstract and we'll just skim through everything else, but this is really cool. One of these authors is from Mote Marine Lab, so very famous shark lab. Abstract: the Longfin Mako is a poorly studied oceanic shark taken in fisheries throughout its worldwide range in temperate and tropical waters. Satellite-linked tags were deployed to investigate the movements of two mature males, one tagged in the northeastern Gulf of Mexico, and the other off northern Cuba. Also, shout out to Gulf of Mexico. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. This is literally what I'm talking about. It's just like we've had decades, centuries of research where it's just the Gulf of Mexico. It's just so stupid to change the name. Horizontal tracks estimated by using likelihood methods were similar for these sharks, Comparable movements were documented from the Gulf of Mexico through the Straits of Florida and the Bahamas and into the open Atlantic Ocean where they converge on a mid-Atlantic bight. So a mid-Atlantic bight is an interesting feature where marine biologists know what this is. The general public doesn't probably know what this is. It's such a weird term, but it's it's kind of like the shelf region between Cape Cod and Cape Hatteras. It's that's what it is. It's not really prominent. Like it's not, people don't advertise it. It's not really like a destination, or people don't really like it's not something people talk about. Like people talk about the Chesapeake Bay, the Delaware Bay, Long Island Sound, but they don't. The Mid Atlantic Bight is usually not on maps. It's kind of more of like a marine biology thing, but it's that region between Cape Cod and Cape Hatteras. But specifically the kind of like the shelf area before you get into the continental slope. But depth and temperature ranges were 0 to 1767 meters. The sunlit zone right at the surface to the midnight zone, which is it's wild how deep the shark dives, and 4 degrees to 28.8 degrees Celsius. That's also a huge temperature range too. To compare, for Fahrenheit, let's see, Celsius to Fahrenheit. So minimum is about 39 degrees, so really cold. Maximum is about 84 degrees, so just like tropical warm water. So, ideal pattern of vertical movement was evident for both individuals, along with regular forays from cold daytime depths to warmer near-surface waters, possibly as an adaptation for thermoregulation. So that's actually really cool. So the shark might be diving down to hunt for like squid or deep water fishes, and then it comes back to the surface to just warm itself, kind of like a lizard a little bit. Even though it's able to warm its body temperature to a higher degree than the surrounding water, it's kind of cool that the shark probably needs some time to recharge to like at the surface at the warm surface waters. It makes sense that it's not that area is not as energetically demanding, so it's really cool that might be an adaptation where the shark is taking a break, trying to kind of reorient itself before it goes back down into the challenging depths. So the vertical movements of Longfin Makos allow them to exploit vertically migrating prey, but these movements increase their vulnerability to pelagic lawn lining. The horizontal movements of these sharks reveal the limited benefit of areas currently closed to pelagic lawn lining off the southeastern United States, and also indicate the connectivity of the United States, Cuban, Mexican, and Bahamian waters for this species. Because of the vulnerability of Longfin Makos to overexploitation, improved biological information is needed for accurate stock assessments and appropriate management and conservation measures. Okay, so really cool premise. I'm very excited to dive into this paper, and we won't read the whole thing verbatim. I'm just going to shout out some cool facts that stand out. But again, it feels nice to talk about a shark species again on a stream. Just like focusing on one species it's fun to do. And I think this is our last lamniform. I believe we've covered every other lamniform up to this point. So, because we did the Longfin Mako, I think we've done all 3 sand tiger sharks. And we did the white shark, we did the poor beagle, we did the salmon shark. So it's kind of cool that this is the last one. The shark genus Isurus comprises 2 species with similar morphological features, a shortfin mako and a longfin mako. The Longfin Mako is a global oceanic species that inhabits both tropical and subtropical waters, but also ranges into temperate seas. Let's see. In the western Atlantic Ocean, the Longfin Mako has been documented in the Gulf Stream off the eastern United States, off Cuba's northeastern coast, as far south as Brazil, and as far as north as Georgia's Bank. Let's see. In the Gulf of Mexico, Longfin Makos have been observed infrequently, but have been reported in the northern Gulf of Mexico off the Mississippi River and south of Panama City, Florida, and in the southern Gulf of Mexico of Tabasco, Mexico. It's an understudied species. It's relatively rare. observers confuse this with the short-fin Mako. This is interesting. The Longfin Mako is not directly targeted in any fishery, but is taken as bycatch throughout its range in tropical and temperate waters by pelagic longline fisheries that target swordfish, tuna species, and other shark species. Let's see. The study of shark bycatch in small-scale pelagic longline fishery in northwest Cuba. The researchers reported that the Longfin Mako is the sixth most common shark by weight of the 11 shark species reported. A more recent study of this fishery ranked the Longfin Mako higher in landings. See, fins of Longfin Makos are of desirable quality, but reported in the Hong Kong, Chilean, and Indonesian fin trades. Because of its rarity, low reproductive potential, and bycatch-induced mortality, the Longfin Mako is listed as vulnerable in the IUCN Red List of threatened species. Oh, look at that. In U.S. waters, retention of the Longfin Makos have been prohibited for both commercial and recreational fishermen since 2000, under the National Marine Fisheries Service Fishery Management Plan for sharks that inhabit the Atlantic Ocean and adjacent waters. Cortez. So Cortez is actually a very prominent shark biologist focusing on North American species. In an ecological risk assessment of shark species caught in the Atlantic pelagic longline fisheries, Cortez ranked the vulnerability of the Longfin Mako among species at highest risk and highlighted the need for better basic biological information for the shark. This is kind of cool. Satellite-linked tagging technologies have provided researchers with effective tools for revealing home ranges, movement and migration routes, and habitat use patterns of marine predators. Most landed species, so mackerel sharks, have been studied by using satellite tracking. These species include the short-fin Mako, white shark, poor beagle, and salmon shark. However, there are no detailed reports of satellite-tracked Longfin Makos from any part of this global range of this species. Conventional tagging results in U.S. waters, although sparse, indicate movement of Longfin Makos from the eastern Gulf of Mexico into the western North Atlantic Ocean, likely through the Straits of Florida. We are the first to use satellite tracking as a means of assessing the behavior, ecology, and vulnerability to fisheries of this species. So we won't go into the materials and methods, because they're very detailed, but we will go into this range. This is so cool. Alright, we'll zoom in here. So this is the path of a longfin Mako shark. Okay, so the shark was tagged here in the Gulf of Mexico. And then this track is showing that it looks like it spent most of its time in April. So say it got tagged in April. Right at the shelf edge. Then throughout May, the shark was in deeper water, then passed through the Straits of Florida. So Gulf of Mexico, Straits of Florida here. Straits of Florida, this is such a cool, it's kind of amazing when you look at this on the map where the Florida and the Bahamas, they're not that far away from each other. And, this passage between Florida, Bahamas, Cuba, like from a shark perspective, it's really not a lot of different distance between these regions. So it's really cool that for the entire month of May, the Longfin Mako was in this area. In June, the shark went up the coast into my home ecoregion, the Virginia Marine ecoregion, but it spent its time offshore. So you could see it kind of cruising along the shelf edge, but then immediately goes into this open ocean environment. I don't think let's see. The furthest I've ever gone is not even. I've gone right to the shelf edge at Norfolk Canyon, but I haven't been further. And it looks like this Mako shark is, further out of reach from where I've been. But June and July, the shark is spending its time in the Mid-Atlantic bite right here. So off the coast of Delaware, New Jersey, right in the Gulf Stream. So what's really cool is that the actual continental shelf here it's getting cold water from the Labrador Current, so it's definitely kind of a temperate assemblage of animals. But then you have the Gulf Stream, these warm waters of the Gulf Stream coming up the coast of Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas, then breaking offshore to where the shark is here, and this is where the tag popped up. The track of this other Longfin Mako looks like this individual was tagged in Cuba, and in February, March, and April, it spent most of its time right in the Straits of Florida, and then April as well. So, hey Mingus, what's up? Welcome back. That's still a good ways off the coast, damn. Thank you. Yeah, so that was, and I'm going to shout them out again because they're amazing. Rudy Tours, Virginia Beach, pelagic trip. This wonderful tour operator, Rudy Tours, based out of Virginia Beach, they do these incredible pelagic longline tours. Not longline tours, sorry. I'm getting confused with, there's usually pelagic longline fisheries, so they don't do that. Thank goodness. They're wildlife tours. They're just wildlife tours. But they do these incredible pelagic wildlife tours where they will go 50 miles offshore, right to Norfolk Canyon, and it literally is like living Blue Planet. It's such an amazing experience, and it's really cool that this shark is still out of reach. But I saw hammerhead sharks, so scalped hammerheads. They have seen basking sharks, smooth hammerheads. I think they've seen dusky sharks. So it's such an amazing place where you do see quite a variety of wildlife out there. So, but yes, actually, yeah. Let me get their website, and the rates are good too. Like for what they offer, like for what you're doing, that's really good. Let me see, wildlife watching. Here we go. All day pelagic wildlife exploration. It's a 13. Oh my gosh, that's a steal. So it's $170 US dollars. That is really good for what you're getting. That is 100% worth it. For the once in a lifetime wildlife experience you're getting, I highly recommend. Like they're incredible. So. But I'll put Rudy Tours. They do these tours intentionally once a month. What's cool in the wintertime, great time to see whales. So I've actually done both. I've done the winter and the summer tour. So in the winter tour, I've seen humpback whales, Atlantic spotted dolphin, which was a surprise because that should be a summertime species. Puffins, so like the famous puffins, which I was shocked. I didn't think puffins came down this far, but they do migrate. So puffins, ocean sunfish, which is I love the ocean sunfish. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I love it. And I think that was it for the wintertime species. And then in the summer tour, which I did in July, scalloped hammerhead sharks, pilot whales, common dolphins, bottlenose dolphins. Dorado or mahi-mahi, so those beautiful dolphin fish, loggerhead sea turtles. What else? I feel like I'm missing something. So those are what I've seen, and it's an amazing experience. And then, in general, people have seen like the best thing you can see, and people have seen them. Is right whales. They do see them, which is unbelievable to think about. That like right whales are like the pandas of this region. They're just so like rare to run into. But they've seen right whales. I believe they've seen fin whales, minke whales, There was a blue whale off our coast, and I forget if pelagic tourists saw it or not. I don't think they did, actually. Or if Rudy tourists saw it or not. I don't think they did. Um, I mentioned the dusky sharks, the smooth hammerheads, flying fish. They do see flying fish. What else? I think they've seen leatherback turtles, and those are incredible. It's the largest sea turtle in the world. So, in this part of the world, loggerheads are the most likely species you'll see, but we do get leatherback turtles and green turtles. I think we get Kemp's Ridley turtles as well, and hawksbill sea turtles, but those are all really, really rare. So, but yeah, definitely recommend. And I'm actually, I mean, honestly, I got to do more whale watches because I remember I used to do a lot of them in New England. And New England, specifically Rye Harbor in New Hampshire, they have an amazing tour as well where they did, I think on their tour, you see humpback whales, fin whales, basking sharks, and minke whales. And I think if you're really lucky, you might see a right whale. So, but this coast, there's a lot going on as far as like, you know, wildlife tours. So yeah, it's super cool. But anyway, getting back to Longfin Mako's track. So we have in the springtime in the Straits of Florida, May. The shark. This is actually really interesting what it's doing. So in May, it's going from the Gulf of Mexico through the Straits of Florida, right out into the open sea, past the Bahamas, which is kind of wild. This is completely clear blue, deep blue water, marine desert. There's like hardly anything out here, and the shark is spending May here. Then in June, swimming over this like beautiful, incredibly deep water to hit the continental shelf, kind of towards Long Island a little bit. So June and July, it's actually right on, kind of on the slope, I would say. So on the continental slope, south of Long Island, New York, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and that's where the tag popped up. So it's really cool to see just the track of the species. And what's kind of fun, I really don't want to like show. I won't show for OSearch because OSearch is very controversial. But OSearch has tagged Mako sharks before, and they've tagged white sharks. And there's something interesting you see when you compare the two tags, where Mako sharks spend their time in the open ocean a lot more. Their tracks, the tracks favor the open ocean, and they'll sometimes come to the edge of the shelf, but they usually don't go in any further. Whereas white sharks, they love getting close to the coast. They love being right on the coastline, and it makes sense because their favorite prey item, which is seals, is, you know, a coastal animal. So, but it's really cool to see the difference because they're closely related species, but they're occupying very different habitats. So it's really cool. Oh, sorry. What? Sorry, I'm like zooming in and out. Alright, so... Okay, there we go. Yeah. Looking up OSearch, I could probably hate on it. Yeah. Yeah, OSearch, I think we talked about on one stream. They're very controversial, where there's... The tracks are very interesting. Sometimes they're not accurate, but... oh, what is this? Hold on. Offshore the mouth of Chesapeake Bay. Okay, sorry. It said Chesapeake Bay and I got really excited. But that's... Here we go. So this is actually a really cool graph of water temperature and where the sharks are relative to temperature. Man, this must be peak summer. And I guess this is because this is July. So this is like the hottest oceanic temperature. This is super cool too. You can see the Gulf Stream in orange right here. So this is, it literally is a massive current that is kind of like a river in the middle of the ocean in a way where you can see how it's this like warm. Actually, there's a lot going on in this. Hold on. Sorry, this is actually a really cool temperature map because you can see a couple things. Oh, actually, you can see a couple things going on here. Okay. All right. So you've got the Gulf Stream. So this swerving line of warm water going northeast, right? You have this right here. This is called a warm core eddy. So you actually see how there's like a bubble kind of forming of warm water of the Gulf Stream. You actually see a little bit of that here too. There's kind of like a bubble here, but this water is a bit cooler. But these are eddies with a warm core. Sometimes you'll get cold core eddies, but this actually I guess would be technically a warm core eddy too. But these bubbles are really interesting because they trap tropical animals, and then the eddies will kind of like drift throughout the ocean and eventually get to a cold place like New York, New Jersey, Rhode Island. And then when the Gulf Stream starts to kind of get colder and colder, the warm core eddy will eventually kind of dissipate, and the tropical fish that are trapped in that eddy, they actually get kind of like a temperature shock, and often they can't really tolerate that, so they'll become typically like they'll they either migrate somewhere else or they die and become like prey items for other animals. But the eddies are really interesting because like you can get butterfly fish trapped in them, and butterfly fish gain up to Rhode Island. Lionfish have been trapped in warm core eddies. They've gone up to Rhode Island as well. And then conversely, orca whales have been trapped in cold core eddies, and they've been seen off the coast of North Carolina. So it's really like how the Gulf Stream moves, and like the massive areas of water that kind of spout off from the Gulf Stream is so interesting. So, in Figure B, and this is mid-July, you can see. Oh, wow! Sorry, I'm really having fun with the zoom feature. Sorry about that. Not. Okay, just want to make this like a little bit bigger. Just a little bit bigger. Okay, I guess we'll take that. So. Figure B, which is mid-July, you still see the Gulf Stream, but the rest of the water temperature is super warm. I love this like little patch of blue, by the way. This is George's Bank. So this area right here, this actually is kind of like a marine barrier where it's not really going to warm up. So this is actually a natural barrier between the Virginian marine ecoregion and the Gulf of Maine and Bay of Fundy. So it's kind of like a gate, where not a lot of animals, like once they get to this area, they're like, yeah, this is too cold. I'm just going to keep, where I like to live in the South, and conversely, there's a lot of cold water animals that when they get to this gate and it starts to get warmer, it's like, no, I don't really like it. I want to stay in the Gulf of Maine. So it's really cool. This is actually a natural feature that defines two ecoregions. So, yeah. Let's see. Oh, yeah. I appreciate that, Minja. So, for real, there's nothing really more thrilling than reading a scientific paper that mentions your home. I remember you bringing up with a different shark before. I also wanted to say you brought up something up about predators taking advantage of fish caught in the eddy up north, probably misremembering. So, I think you're right, because it is a really cool phenomenon that it does bring kind of unexpected bounty in certain areas. So, they're really cool. Like, the eddies are really fascinating, so... and I probably have mentioned them before. You can kind of see it's cool to see the temperature dynamic here in Figure C, where you saw the Gulf Stream seems to be kind of peeling away even more. What's happening here is also fascinating. This is Labrador Current, sometimes also known as the North Atlantic Drift, but this is there is a cold water current that's going close to the coast and trying to cut down into New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia. Whereas the Gulf Stream is kind of going north, so you've got this like weird zone where if you're in Rhode Island and you take a boat out, you're in like cold water, with like gray seals and I don't know, sculpins and whatever. Then you cross this boundary, and then you get into warm tropical water like Dorado and sea turtles, and it's really cool that how water temperature works and how the currents work. It's kind of cool that the Gulf Stream kind of penetrates further north, and the Labrador Current penetrates further south, and they kind of they create these really interesting zones where you're going to get colder wildlife closer to the coast, but warmer water wildlife further away, which is so cool. And then, sorry, for the Mako shark, they seem to be liking the warm waters, actually. So they're sticking close to the shelf edge, but they really, really like that warm water, like that Gulf Stream water. So. Okay. So maximum likelihood track. This is interesting. Okay, so this is showing where the Mako sharks live versus pelagic longline closure areas or gear restricted areas. So here we go, and you can see that the areas where the pelagic longlines are closed or restricted, they kind of don't really run into the Mako shark habitat. Like Area 2 kind of does, Area 4 kind of does, but so much of the habitat out here in the open ocean, which is unprotected, that's where really this Longfin Mako lives. So it's a good visual of how the current measures don't really do anything for the shark, this particular shark species. They probably help other species, but for this one, it's not really perhaps effective. This is exciting. Depth profile for 150-day track of a Longfin Mako. Okay. Oop. So this is all pretty shallow water for the most part. Oh, actually, no. Never mind. I misread that. So, okay. Daily maximum depth is based on all received summary data. Source of a shark. Okay, here we go. So depth meters. So we have in the daytime, which is the red depth. So we see that the shark is spending a lot of its time in the daytime at around 400 meters. So this is in the twilight zone. So it's spending a lot of time at day in the twilight zone, perhaps hunting. At night, it comes up to the surface, which is so interesting. At dusk, it's kind of making its way down. At dawn, it's making its way up. Daily maximum is right along with the twilight zone, but then as you get further down into the year, so in June, you've got some individuals getting deeper into the midnight zone, which is so cool. At night, this shark tends to stay in the sunlit zone pretty consistently. So this graph is interesting because the top is showing. Let me pull that down for better view. The top is showing the total number of tracks here. This big blue line right here is plotted against the depth on this right-hand side. So it's much shallower. It's 0, 50, 10, and 150 meters. So it's showing that at night, the Longfin Mako spends its time kind of in the sunlit zone and spends its time at the surface. But then when you look at the total plot, which includes that blue line, as well as the green, yellow, and red, which indicate dusk, dawn, and day, respectively, you see that the shark spends, it's plotted against the left column, so 0, 200, 400, 600, 800 meters, and so on. The total picture of this shark, which is incredible to see, is that, again, it's spending its daylight hours around comfortably in the twilight zone, pretty comfortably in the twilight zone, probably hunting like lanternfish and squid, and then at dusk, it starts to make its way up back to the surface at night. And then at dawn, it starts to make its way down into the twilight zone. So super cool to see that this is a deep water Mako shark. And it makes sense that we don't really see it. Because for the shortfin Mako, you would argue that the shortfin Mako probably spends more time at the surface naturally. And the longfin Mako is more of a naturally deep water species, which is so cool. Let's see. So this is called mean depth by hour of the day. So at midnight, the Longfin Mako is about 100 meters deep. So cool. and it's kind of hovering there until about 6 a.m. It starts to get to the edge of the sunlit zone. At 7 a.m., it's gained into the twilight zone. 8 a.m., 9, 10. Like, while people are working, the shark is in the depths of the twilight zone. And then around 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m. is when it comes back into the sunlit zone, and it spends its time back at the surface. So during working hours, if you will, the shark is going into the twilight zone, and then at night it comes back up to the surface, which is so cool. Let's see. So we'll just kind of read the summary of the discussion. So. Let's see, this article is the first published report on the movements and vertical habitat use of the Longfin Mako, a poorly studied shark species, for which our knowledge has largely been based on incidental catches from pelagic fisheries. The presence of these two Mako sharks in the Straits of Florida is consistent with the fisheries data from this region. In an overview, landings of large pelagic species along the northern coast of Cuba, researchers report the Longfin Mako is captured in nearly every month, but noted peaks in abundance in surveys conducted during August through November, and during April through May, in August and November. It's kind of interesting. Figure B is showing preferred temperature range. So it looks like the shark likes to be 24 or 27 degrees Celsius, so pretty warm. Not too warm. It doesn't really spend a lot of time in colder water, so it kind of likes warm water. This is interesting. This is kind of tricky, but I'm curious to read this. So, this figure is variability in daytime vertical movements of a longfin mako tagged on the northwestern coast of Cuba in 2015. So, A is the figure A right here is the temperature depth profile during a week-long period in June, showing limited temperature variability. B is the temperature depth profile in early July, showing movement through a temperature stratified water column. Figure C is a 39-hour period beginning the 8th of June when the shark remained largely at depths of 300 to 400 meters during the day within its relatively unstratified water column. Figure D is 31-hour period beginning 3rd July, showing regular daytime forays from cold depths into warmer surface waters. Interesting. So I think the conclusion, or what to be gleaned from this is, if there's not a lot of difference in water temperature at depths, it spends more time. If I'm reading that correctly, it's spending more time at depth consistently. But if the water column is stratified, if it gets colder the deeper you go, the shark is spending more and more time going up and down, up to the surface and then back down, just to probably warm itself back up, which is so interesting. Okay, so there's a similar study in the Pacific indicating comparable vertical movements of shallower depths at night than those during the day. Similar daily vertical movement behavior has been observed in a number of other pelagic shark species, including the big-eye thresher, white shark, and porbeagle, as well as pelagic teleosts such as swordfish and big-eye tuna. It has often been suggested this behavior is in response to the movement of their prey. Although the diet of the Longfin Mako has not been described fully, the presumed prey of the species includes schooling fish and pelagic squid. The latter may be the more important dietary component because squid and squid beaks have been identified in the contents of stomachs of Longfin Makos, and are similarly known component of the short fin Mako diet. Most likely jumbo squid is a popular kind of squid for this shark. Pelagic cephalopods like squid have been shown to have diel vertical migrations. A distinct diel vertical migration pattern was observed for jumbo squid tagged with satellite tags. They spent most of their daylight hours of depths greater than 250 meters. They rose towards the surface at dusk. So the shark going up and down might be following its prey items, which makes sense as far as like why else would the shark want to go into deep water, but it's really cool. Yep. So the pattern movements of Longfin Mako was observed in our study and indicated that the diel pattern of the Longfin Mako may be related to a habitat of following cephalopod prey. Oh yeah, I love this, Howard. Sharks like calamari. I'm going to star that. I love that. It's actually, I mean, squid is a great prey item and it's very popular with a lot of shark species. So squid is good. We like squid. One thing, which I still can't believe, I know we talked about it before, but flying squid, like I had no idea. It was this year. Actually, this is really funny. I had no idea that flying squid were a thing until my honeymoon, where we went up north and we went up to this like bookstore that had all these really cool old books, including this pelagic tour book. Like it's this very small book, and I was like, oh, this is cool. You know, might as well read it. And I see this section on flying squid. It's like, that cannot be real. Like, is this something I've never known before? And turns out flying squid are a thing, just like flying fish. And like they're this pelagic, really brilliant purple blue squid that they will shoot up out of the water and then open their tentacles, kind of like Spider-Man's little wingsuit thing. And it's so cool. Or I guess I should say Batman's wingsuit, but oh, have you sent the link to this chat yet? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Let me go ahead and do that, Minges. Here we go. There we go. So this is publicly available, this paper. It's really fascinating. So, and this is actually great, like the diel migrations, like tagging to show depth preferences and temperature preferences. Really cool component of a lot of marine biology studies on animals. So I remember when I interned at Seco Science Center, we did a data logger, which was I think it was just plugged into a I think it was just we just suck in a tide pool, so it wasn't attached to an animal or anything. We just had it in a tide pool, but it did record changes in temperature, sunlight, and I thought it was the coolest thing. So this kind of study, it's like such a awesome, or such a like foundational thing to be tracking, where it's like what the water temperature is, what the salinity is, or not the salinity, the solar intensity is, like what time it is. It's super cool. So the importance of the convergence of the tracks of the two Mako sharks in the summer wasn't clear, but their movements were likely influenced directly or indirectly by water temperature, given their observed tendency to remain near or within the Gulf Stream. The water column in this region becomes strongly stratified by midsummer, as characterized by the formation of a warm, mixed surface layer of about 30 meters in depth. We noted a shallower mean depth at nighttime for the second Longfin Mako during June and July that indicates a nighttime preference for this mixed layer. Similarly, satellite tagging of bluefin tunas in the Atlantic Ocean has indicated a shallower summertime depth distribution when bluefin tunas occupy well-stratified water in this region. The 60-day track of a shortfin mako tagged in Gulf Stream waters off South Carolina also had a decrease in nightly depth range after summer solstice, indicating that the shark or its prey was tracking a thermal regime at night. It's so cool. Let's see. In a study of the diet of a large pelagic predatory fish species in the same region of the North Atlantic Ocean, the most common component of stomach contents was cephalopods, so squid. The highest biomass was represented by omastrepid squid species. So I kind of want to see what that looks like. Omastrepid squid. Oops. Squid. It is squid. I think this is it. Omastrephidae. So it's this kind of squid. Let's look up on Wikipedia what kind of squid this is. It's a family of squid, 3 subspecies. They are widely distributed globally and extensively fished for food. One species, Todorodes pacificus, comprised around half of the world's cephalopod catch annually. They're known for their jet-propelled flight, earning them the common name of flying squid. Oh, so these might be the famous flying squid. So this is it is. These are flying squid. Oh my gosh. Okay. So it's a lesser flying squid. This is a northern shortfin squid. It's very cute. A Humboldt squid. Humboldt squids are scary. They are. Let's actually look this up, because there's like urban legends of Humboldt squids attacking people. Let's actually look that up. Humboldt squid, also known as a jumbo squid or jumbo flying squid, is a large predatory squid living in the eastern Pacific. Let's see. They do. Okay. They have a reputation for aggression towards humans, although this behavior may only occur during feeding times. So, okay. I don't know if have you guys heard of Humboldt squid, but I remember these are like kind of scary. These are squid that are said to go after people, which is a terrifying concept. I mean, they are huge. Look how big that is. But let's see. Aggression towards humans. Numerous accounts have the squid attacking fishermen and divers. The coloring and aggressive reputation have earned them the nickname Diablos Rojos, or the Red Devils, from fishermen off the coast of Mexico, as they flash red and white when struggling on a line. Although Humboldt squid have a reputation of being aggressive towards humans, some disagreement exists on the subject. Research suggests these squid are aggressive only while feeding, at other times they are quite passive. Some scientists claim the only reports of aggression towards humans have occurred when reflective diving gear or flashing lights have been present as a provocation. Roger Uzun, a veteran scuba diver and amateur underwater videographer who swam with a swarm of the animals for about 20 minutes, said they seem to be more curious than aggressive. In circumstances where these animals are not feeding or being hunted, they exhibit curious and intelligent behavior. Recent footage of shoals of these animals demonstrated a tendency to meet unfamiliar objects aggressively. Having risen to depths of 130 to 200 meters below the surface to feed, up from the typical 700 meters diving depth beyond the range of human diving, they have attacked deep-sea cameras and rendered them inoperable. Humboldt squid have also been observed engaging in swarm behavior when met by the lights of submersibles, suggesting they may follow or attracted to light. Reports of recreational scuba divers being attacked by Humboldt squid have been confirmed. So, yep. No thanks. Yeah. So, I forgot that Humboldt squid were a thing, but I've heard of these being aggressive and scary. So, like it's funny because it's like, you think of legends of like the Kraken, and you're like, oh, that's not real, and that there is a aggressive squid in the world. So, fascinating. Anyway. Use of deep cold habitat and endothermy. By the way, I'm going to check. I know we talked about the big nose shark earlier. I'm just going to check really quick to see if we've done that species yet. And if not, that's a great suggestion for next week. So let's see, playlist. We're going to check the Carchariniform playlist. Bull shark, sandbar shark. Forgot we did blue sharks. Wow. Spade nose shark, milk shark, spinner shark, graceful shark, bronze whaler, hard nose shark, dusky shark, oceanic white tip. It's awesome that we did that. Fine tooth shark, Ganges shark, Human's whaler shark, gray reef shark, Caribbean reef shark. We have not done a big nose shark, so that's a great pick, and I think we'll do that for next week. So let me get the scientific name. Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, Howard. Imagine that thing latching onto your scuba gear, and yikes! Yes, that's really terrifying, actually, because like the tentacles would wrap around, and there's just such a high risk of it like yanking out like your reverberator or your mask or like just. That's really freaky. Oh my gosh. But big nose shark is a good pick for next week. Oh man, I'm glad we don't have Humboldt squid here. That's terrifying. That is actually really, really terrifying. So let's see. There we go. Ultimus. So Amboyensis is pig eye shark. I always do this. Pig eye shark is Amboyensis. So big nose shark. Carcharinus ultimus. This is a really good one to study actually next week. These sharks, sorry, Ultimus, Carcharinus, Ultimus. Okay, so these sharks often get confused with sandbar sharks, and they actually are appropriately named because they have kind of like they have a big head and like a big snout, but otherwise their bodies look pretty similar to sandbar sharks, so this is going to be a really cool one to study. This is a shark that spends a lot of its time around seamounts and islands, so that's going to be a fun one for next week. So let's see. So for the Longfin Mako, use of deep cold habitat and endothermy. Let's see. Profiles the time to depth and time to temperature for the two Longfin Makos. Indicate this species is capable of using cold, deep-water habitat for extended periods of time, particularly during the daytime hours. This pattern contrasts with that of its congenitor, the shortfin Mako, which appears to make only brief excursions before the thermocline. It reportedly spends only 4% of its time at depths greater than 300 meters, and only about 10% of its time at depths exceeding 200 meters northwest Atlantic. Okay, so this is really cool. This is super, super cool. So, it's really cool that we have two Mako sharks that live in the same region, but they're occupying different habitats. So the shortfin Mako likes to be closer to the surface, and the longfin Mako likes to be lurking deeper water, which is it's so cool that they overlap. They're in the same range, but they're layered differently. So longfin Mako spend more time at depth, shortfin Mako spend more time at the surface. So in a way, they're two different niches, which is so cool. It's so cool that two different niches yield two different species. It's just such an amazing thing, actually. It's so cool. Laminid shark species have the ability to conserve metabolic heat by means of vascular countercurrent heat exchangers, a complex called the rete mirabile, and can maintain their tissues at temperatures significantly above ambient temperatures, likely as a mean for broadening their habitat. Let's see. In a study of body temperature measurements and anatomical features related to heat production and conservation for laminid species, the Longfin Mako was found to have a relatively small amount of red muscle and poorly developed rete mirabile, and consequently is rated as the least endothermic of the laminid shark species. However, these authors suggest that the rete mirabile of the Longfin Mako could increase its thermal inertia and prolong cooling time so the shark species can maintain its body temperature higher than the ambient temperature in cold, deep waters after spending periods of time in warm surface waters. Our findings that daytime vertical activity and interforay duration both are related to temperature at depth and consistent with this hypothesis. Tracked short-fin makos have shown a similar pattern in the southeastern Pacific Ocean, in that reduced thermal structure of the water column coincided with a decrease in vertical activities of these fish. We hypothesize that the Longfin Mako conducted regular forays during daytime from cold depths to surface waters to gain heat loss at depth. A similar daytime movement pattern from depths to surface waters has been described for the blue shark, and this movement pattern is a thermoregulatory strategy that is aided by the property of muscle to warm up more quickly than the time it takes to cool down. In contrast to the blue shark, the endothermic Longfin Mako may be able to remain warmer than the ambient water temperature for longer periods of time at depth, and then rewarm rapidly during relatively brief forays to the surface. This form of behavioral thermoregulation may enable Longfin Makos to remain active predators in cold water and to exploit agile, vertically migrating prey such as pelagic squid species that would largely become unavailable during the day to competing ectothermic predators. So cool, and I definitely wanted to read that just out loud verbatim because it's super cool. So, Minges, it makes me really jealous of ocean ecology, but like also in a way I guess that could be compared to jungle canopy lair niches. Yes, it's I mean, well, literally, yeah, like a jungle canopy is a great comparison actually, because it's the same tree, but the surface layer with the branches and the solar energy being received is so different than the root, the trunk, with just the proximity to soil, the shade. It could be this exact same tree, but you have such a different variety of life. It's so cool. Let's see. We also noted nighttime vertical oscillations of a Longfin Mako from near surface waters to depths of greater than 300 meters. The subsequent ascents brought the shark within 3 meters of the surface, perhaps to regain heat after a period 20 to 40 minutes at cold depths. For the short-fin Mako, directed descents into deeper water followed by rapid ascents have been associated primarily with daytime hours and have been correlated with successful feeding events at depth. Let's see. It is likely that the nighttime forays we observe in the Longfin Mako are related to foraging and may be a response to variable nighttime movement patterns of its pelagic prey. The large size of the Longfin Mako, second largest of all landed species after the white shark by length. That's actually really cool, and I never knew that. I did know that Longfin Makos were the second largest mackerel shark. So great white sharks are the largest. Longfin Makos is the second largest. Shortfin Makos are in the middle, right in the middle, and then salmon sharks and porbeagles are the smallest. So, let's see. The larger size of the Longfin Mako may also be thermally advantageous by further minimizing conductive heat loss to surrounding seawater. Larger shortfin Makos have been found to dive to greater maximum depths than those attained by smaller specimens. As with all other lambda shark species, the Longfin Mako has the capacity to maintain its visceral temperature substantially above ambient sea temperature through a suprahepatic rete, which may be a mechanism for enhancing rates of digestion and food assimilation. Let's see. This is so cool. Howard did not know that either. Yeah, it's so cool. I honestly had no idea. And that one clip, we'll go back. I know I keep playing this, but that's a good visual of this. I mean, like I was not expecting this shark to be as big as it is, and this is a good visual compared to the humans that it's near. Just like how massive an animal Longfin Mako sharks are. So it's really wild to see that. So yeah, unbelievable. It's a beautiful shark. Let's see. Pelagic longline fisheries pose a principal threat to Longfin Makos. So. Oh, thank you, Howard. I really appreciate that. I've learned a lot from this channel. Thank you. I mean, honestly, so am I. So have I. doing the stream altogether, I never would have learned as much about sharks otherwise, really, because you can read in a book that there's like 540 species, but to actually like do this project where we're doing like one species a week, it really brings into focus like, wow, there are so many sharks in the world, and each one is so different, and it's just mind-boggling that they are that different. It's just it's so cool. So this is a really great community effort. So thank you guys. It's so cool. Let's see. Pelagic low-lying fisheries pose a principal threat to longfin makos. Let's see. There have been reports of longfin makos being captured in gear that targeted swordfish. Longfin mako is the second most abundant shark species landed by number in Cuba, exceeded only by the shortfin mako. Let's see. Currently, there are no restrictions on catches of longfin makos in the waters of Cuba. In U.S. waters, the year-round or seasonal closing of areas to pelagic longline fisheries in the Gulf of Mexico and Atlantic Ocean appear to offer minimal protection for the species. Although based on only 2 tracks from 2 individuals, our data do not indicate these sharks spend much time inside these closed areas where they could have been protected from pelagic longlining. The effect of this fishing pressure may be profound for the longfin mako given its lower fecundity, 2 to 8 pups per litter. Let's see. That's actually smaller than a shortfin mako, which is 4 to 25 pups per litter. The combination of its low productivity and high susceptibility of longfin makos to longline gear has led to the species being ranked as highly vulnerable in ecological risk assessments of shark species caught in pelagic longline fisheries. With this vulnerability and generally lower abundance in comparison with its conspecific, the shortfin mako, for which is often misidentified, the longfin mako is a shark species of special conservation concern in today's oceans. The depths at which sharks distribute themselves profoundly affect their susceptibility to commercial fisheries. The ideal vertical movement patterns of longfin mako contributes to its vulnerability to pelagic longline fisheries, especially to fisheries that target swordfish. Results from a recent study in which the satellite tracks of sharks were compared with fishing vessel movements in the North Atlantic Ocean indicate how effectively pelagic longline fleets are exploiting key oceanic shark habitats amongst almost entirely overlapping fishing effort, preferred habitat of shark species for much of the year. Let's see. The longfin mako lives in an area that connects the United States, Cuba, Mexico, and the Bahamas. There's vulnerability of the species to fishing fleets from multiple nations. More than 75% of species of pelagic sharks and rays have an elevated risk of extinction due to overfishing, and large pelagic shark species such as the longfin mako have an approximately 80% probability of being threatened. Effective management and assessment efforts, however, are often impeded by a lack of species-specific fishery and biological data. Although our study contributes new information to limited knowledge of the longfin mako, continued efforts to improve data collection and the monitoring of pelagic shark catches, particularly in areas of concentrated abundance of longfin makos, such as those off the northern coast of Cuba, are warranted. The recent implementation of the first National Plan of Action for Conservation and Management of the Species of Sharks and Rays of Cuba is a positive step towards this goal. Oh my goodness. So this was an extremely cool study, and I had some others pulled up, but they weren't really as interesting as this to me. This one I was especially interested in reading, and I'm so glad that we tackled this first because there's so much great information about how the shark lives and where it goes, and then also just like how it relates to the shortfin mako in terms of like what makes the longfin mako distinct. So it's not only that it has the longer fins and attains a larger size, but it also lives in deeper water, which is so cool. It spends more time in deeper water than the shortfin mako. So I think that's just really, really cool to see. And I think, let me double check, but I think with that we might have completed the lamniforms. So let's actually take a quick tour, and we'll call it a night in a little bit. But lamniforms. I think we did all the lamniform sharks, which is unbelievable.
But it is a very small order. So actually might be missing one of the freshers. Hold on. But to kind of show what I mean, go to the Dr. John's YouTube channel. Because I have, if it loads. Okay. So we'll take a look. Hope this doesn't crash. Here we go. At the playlists. Landforms. Okay, so we have covered on this channel. We've covered the basking shark, the sand tiger, the poor beagle, the crocodile shark, the thresher shark, the goblin shark, the big-eye sand tiger, the short-fin mako, the mega mouth, the salmon shark, white shark, and big-eye thresher. So we're actually almost done. There's 2 more lambda forms that we actually have to cover. So I thought we were done, but I was wrong. There's a small tooth sand tiger and the pelagic thresher. Those are 2 sharks that we will still have to cover for this order, but we're very close. We're very close to finishing up our first shark order, which is very cool. So it's almost there. All the mackerel sharks are almost complete. So, oh, men just love this. Completed the landforms until more are eventually added to the order. Love that comment. Oh my goodness. And you're absolutely right. They'll probably discover at least a few more. I would bet that there might be another kind of crocodile shark, because crocodile sharks are open ocean animals, and I wouldn't be surprised if there might be multiple variants, but we'll see. But until then, guys, thank you so much for watching. This was a really great return to form. I think this species, after we did the spy hopping episode and the 2 Jurassic Sharks episode, it's fun to get back to a species-specific episode. And we learned a lot about the Longfin Mako shark, and this is a species I really wasn't that familiar with, so it's really cool to see what makes it unique, especially in comparison to the shortfin Mako. So I had a lot of fun, and I really appreciate you guys being here to learn together and learn with me as far as what makes sharks like the Longfin Mako special. So, but thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a great rest of your week. And I'm really excited for next week to go to the tropics to learn about the big nose shark, which is thank you. I love this key smash return to lambda form. Oh my gosh, incredible! My wife and I love the puns, so thank you, ninjas. But guys, thank you so much. Have a wonderful week, and tune in next week for the big nose shark. I'm excited to see you soon, and we'll another week, another shark. So, but take care, guys. Have a good night.